This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Richard, appreciate you joining us as always. So Arkansas yesterday gets accolades from Rocket Sanders, Bo Limmer, Dwight McLaughlin, KJ, and others. When you see these all recruiting lists, what kind of pitch do you think coaches use during the course of recruiting when they see all conference list?
Oh, they definitely point that out. There's no doubt about that. I mean, come be the next Bo Limber, who was all conference this year, or Ricky Strongberg. That's something that you stress in recruiting is development, and that's something that obviously kids want to achieve, and obviously when they achieve something like that helps them, as far as their stock going to the NFL. So that's something that you always focus on, and you notice that they always have, in the football complex, all the All-Americans, all the SEC performers on the walls. So it's something they obviously focus on.
Richard, we're 100 days till the start of Arkansas football on September the 2nd in Little Rock. They have one or two roster spots remaining. I know you keep this under tabs. What's the moves look like for this football team adding players moving forward in the next few weeks?
Yeah, they got one more spot left under the 85. So I think they're done defensively. I think that they could be looking at a receiver spot to fill in, or they may just save it and give it to a walk-on that obviously has worked hard to earn that scholarship. So hey, you go into the fall practice and you got 84, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, may have to have name tags on the defensive side in the fall practice. Remember in like Little League, you'd put your name on your helmet. They'd put tape on there. I mean, there's so many new guys on that defensive side, Richard. We're all going to need some help figuring out who's who on the practices we get to watch, because I think they can run a whole lineup out there on defense with just new guys.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt about that. They're the coaches obviously know the guys, but at the same time, when everybody's got helmets on, you need a little bit of a reminder of who's right in front of you, because sometimes the guys can look the same and physically look the same. So,
hey, Davenport, give me 20 push-ups. So, yeah.
Oh man, those were the days.
Yeah, in the old days, they just grab you by the face mask, and you could tell whether or not it was Beechwood or Red Man or whatever they had in, and they'd get your attention, but they don't quite coach them that way anymore. All right, this Ron Holland deal. Well, A, why did Texas drag their feet so long, and B, what's next in this unfolding story?
Well, allegedly they were seeing if there was tampering or whatever. Supposedly, I don't buy that, because that's they're not really that of an. Schools are not really that much into investigating. They don't have the capability of doing that like the NCAA. I think it was just a ploy to kind of drag their feet and hope for a change of heart, which obviously hasn't happened. But I just tend to think that they were just going to try to use up the entire 30 days that they had to kind of slow play him a little bit.
Yeah. So what kind of look does this create for Texas and Coach Terry, and kind of heading in a new direction? What kind of look does this create for them with other coaches that I'm sure will try to use this in some way, shape, or form as an edge?
I think each school will be, will come up with their own philosophy how to handle that. I don't see the big benefits of just letting it play out. I mean, if a kid seems pretty determined to leave, it's probably just best to go ahead and let him go. I understand, he's according to one recruiting services, the number one player in the country. I get that, but at the same time, I don't think it necessarily helps you. I don't think it really hurts you too much either. I think people are going to forget about this and whatever negative vibes or press or whatever that Texas has gotten over this, I think that'll be forgotten in the very near future.
Well, I mean, he's one of maybe, 2 or 3 players in the country you might have taken this tactic or ploy from if you're Texas or any other school that hadn't committed. I mean, we're talking about the number 1 player in the country. This is the girl everyone wanted to ask to prom, and she's trying to get out of that commitment. You're trying to hold on as much as you can. Yeah, no,
I get where Texas is coming from to a certain extent, but at the same time, I just tend to think if a kid's, if you see a possibility of a kid changing his mind, I guess I could see that. I don't have the greatest relationship with Ron Holland or his family or anything like that, but I spent a little bit of time with him and his mom and got to know him a little bit. And they never struck me as one of these families that just came to a decision out of the blue without really thinking it over. And so the odds of him changing his mind, I think was, changing his mind and staying at Texas were kind of, pretty narrow. But I don't know. It's just one of those types of deals. Each school is going to make their own decision how to handle it, and obviously Texas handled it this way.
Richard Davenport's with us here on the Morning Rush. RD, we got less than a week until Devo, Jordan Walsh, and L. Ellis have to make their decision to withdraw from the NBA draft like Tremont Mark did a couple days ago. With those 3 guys, has there been any indication in the last week since we talked to you, maybe one way they're leaning?
Well, I just retweeted John Walsh, Jordan's dad, about his showing at the combine and how his stock seems to be going up. To me, that kind of tells me that, I kind of thought that, he would probably be staying in for the draft. And I still feel that way, and probably even more so now. So, if he had a kind of a rough combine and didn't show so well, I'd say, well, the possibility of him coming back is a little stronger, but I don't think that's the case. I think with Devo, I tend to think that he may come back, but at the same time, he may even if he's not getting the feedback that he wanted from the NBA, that he could still go G League. He could still play professionally and then work his way into the NBA. So I don't think there's nothing is decided yet based on what I've heard, and I haven't checked just the last few days or anything. But if one was to come back, I would lean towards Devo.
Arkansas could have the possibility, if they land Ron Holland and Trey Johnson, who's the number 1 player in the class of 2024, to get 3 state number 1 players. That's a lot of what ifs. But Richard, when you look at the other sports on campus, baseball, football, and I know you don't cover the others as closely, I mean, what kind of impact, what kind of signal is that to guys in high school basketball that potentially 3 straight best players out of high school are coming to Fayetteville?
That'd be absolutely huge. I mean, it's huge now. Just that Arkansas was a finalist the first time around for Holland, and obviously they got Nick Smith, who's the number 1 player in the country last year, and looks like, according to Trey Johnson's father, who I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, that it looks like that they'll be making an official visit to Arkansas in the fall, and they're Arkansas's in their top 6. Kids pay attention to that. I mean, so many times I've talked to some of the high-profile kids at Arkansas is recruiting now, and they mention Anthony Black, Nick Smith, Jordan Walsh. They talk about them going to Arkansas and them being highly rated and them having success at Arkansas. All that plays into recruiting big time. And if you're Coach Muss and the staff, you're pointing that stuff out all the time, and you don't really have to point it out. Kids see it.
Yeah, and we had Coach Muss on a week ago or one day last week, and I just asked, how do you know when you're done with your roster? I mean, all these guys got to make their decisions. You're still trying to make decisions. At what point do you finally settle in? And he goes, fall semester. When everybody shows up, I guess is when you're done. But, how do you know? All right, we can put a pin in it. We're here. I think that's a harder, point to figure out and where you're at sometimes.
Well, every sport on campus has got that problem. And it's something that you're always leery of, and the possibility of kids saying, "I'm going to leave." I imagine you don't have until like you said, until the fall semester. You don't know 100% sure, and then that has to play in your head too on a consistent basis, because you don't know what a lot of these kids are thinking. They don't even have to tell you that they're going into the portal. They could just get into the portal without telling you. That's happened several times, and it will continue to happen. And when you think you got a kid that hey, I feel comfortable with this guy. I think he's sticking around. He could be the next one in the portal. So all the uncertainty and stuff like that has to weigh on a coach's mental health. I don't see how it doesn't.
Yeah, and just the wear and tear it puts on coaches. I mean, Gus Arginal, I know, has taken a Division II head coaching job. We hadn't really spoken of that. There's going to be a staff change. Be interesting to see if that's from within, and maybe a guy like Ron Brewer or somebody else elevated, or if they go outside. But the wear and tear on coaches, and not just Eric Musselman, but across the sport and across the staffs, this NIL stuff, portal stuff, it's just made the job, 10-15% harder, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I've seen it. Said several times, and I've talked to college coaches that have said that all this stuff kind of makes them want to go to look at the NFL, and where you don't have to recruit. And I've talked to NFL coaches that were in college, and they say the best thing and this was before the NIL and the transfer portal. They said the best thing that about the NFL, they go home, they're never on their phone like they were when they were recruiting for colleges.
Yeah. I
mean, constantly on your phone. And I talked to one college coach who that indicated he wanted to go to the NFL. He told me I think he had 3 weeks of vacation, and those 3 weeks, a lot of times, was putting out fires as far as recruiting kids, saying they're going to decommit, and you're here you are with your family at Disney World, wherever,
Jeez.
And you're having to put out fires. I mean, you truly don't have any time off, and then add the portal, and then add the NIL and everything involved in recruiting now, or roster management and recruiting, and it's just it's a different level.
But on the other hand, most jobs that pay upper six figures or seven figures are the exact same way. You never really have any time off. You're always dealing with fires. There's an issue at the plant. There's an issue with the sales team. There's an issue with the web. I mean, so when much is given, much is expected. I don't think it's probably much different for people earning a whole lot less that have the same kind of hard time getting away from responsibilities.
I'll come back and say this, and I agree with that to a certain extent. In football, okay, the coaches take off a lot of July before they get into the grind. And fall practice, August to about December, you may have 1 day off.
Yeah. I
don't know too many other professions that have maybe 1 day off from August to December. So that's where I would say that there's a big difference, and that goes for just about every sport. I mean, I can guarantee you, Coach Musselman and them were doing the same.
Yeah, but they get free. They get free T-shirts and shoes. We don't get that, in the real job world out here. So.
Well, that's probably the only thing keeping them there is those two things: T-shirts. You got a good point. You shut me up there.
Yeah, we don't get the Nike gear they get. So,
I didn't think about that, Tommy.
No, it's written right in the contract too, I think. So.
Hey, give me those T-shirts, and I'm going to quit dropping about having to call kids.
There you go. All right, what's Memorial Day weekend look at the Davenport house?
Boring, I guess, because we haven't even talked about anything.
Hey,
what about you guys?
The older you get, boring sounds great, doesn't it?
I like boring. Hey, I was on the deck last Saturday for the Preakness and the baseball game, and it was just perfect. I think it's going to be real neat, really nice. This Saturday, I'm a deck guy. Let me sit on the back deck, and I'm happy.
I'm right there with you. All right, enjoy your Memorial Day, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
All right, guys, we'll see you.
BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.